Welcome to Neuroplasticity 101. This is my favorite thing to geek out on. Neuroplasticity, aka you're not doomed. If you've ever felt like you're stuck, you're going to always be an alcoholic, you're always going to be this way, you're always going to be in this craving pattern, nothing will ever change because you've tried so many times before, I want you to hear this. Your brain is not fixed. You're not wired wrong. You're just wired for survival. The good news is the wiring can change. So let's get into it. Neurons that fire together, wire together. You've heard that a bazillion times in recovery circles, or maybe you haven't. I kind of hate when people say that without explaining on a granular level what that really means. I mean, cool, you sound smart. Let's talk about what that means, and especially what it means to you. So, your brain builds shortcuts out of repeated thoughts, feelings, and actions. So, let's just start here. And the saying, neurons that fire together, wire together, isn't just a cute saying. It's literally how your brain builds habits. This term was coined in the 40s, I believe, by a Canadian psychologist, Donald Hebb. So it's called Hebb's Law or Hebbian theory. So thought, feeling, and action. Every time you pair a thought, feeling, and action together, your brain builds a shortcut. So you drink wine when you're stressed out. As soon as you get home from work, you kick off your shoes, you pour a glass of wine. Your brain says, cool, let's make this automatic. And that's efficiency. That's the brain being very efficient. Now, some psychologists will say that when you build an addiction, it's actually just a sign that your brain is doing its job. So, because your brain is doing what it's designed to do, to save energy by building patterns. Talking about neurons firing and wiring. Okay, let's back up a bit and talk about what the hell is even a neuron and why it matters in sobriety. A neuron is just a nerve cell, basically a tiny messenger in your brain and in your nervous system. Neurons send signals to each other through electrical impulses and chemical reactions. The more often two neurons talk to each other, the stronger their connection will become. This is how a habit forms, good or bad. This is how a habit is formed. Now, why does this even matter? Because when you change your thoughts, your actions, and your response, you're actually changing how these neurons fire. And over time, the wiring becomes your new normal. I love this because it's proof that your brain and your life are not stuck. They're not fixed and forever. They're adaptable, which means maybe you're not powerless and broken and an alcoholic forever. Just saying. So, how do we do this, right? We replace the habit with something new. You can't just stop a habit. You have to give your brain a better one. It's like, you have a bridge, it's a piece of shit bridge. You can't just destroy the bridge and have nowhere for traffic to go. You have to build a new bridge. So you're going to interrupt the pattern. And the moment that you choose differently, you fire a new set of neurons. It's kind of a magic trick, really. So you'll hear me talk a lot about a pattern interrupt. How do we rewire our brains? I love the concept of rewiring our brain. How do we actually do that? So, pattern interrupt. And it starts with awareness that we're even in the pattern. You catch the loop in the moment. You pause. You DSD. You do something different because you're breaking that automatic cycle. Every time you choose differently, you fire new neurons. So, like, side note here is like, instead of pouring a drink, you paused. You're like, whoa, okay, I'm dramatic reset here. Take a shower. You call a friend. Um, Instead of sitting on the couch spiraling, you walk outside barefoot and you just touch the earth. Or instead of reaching for the bottle, you text someone or you text me, I want a drink. You know, DSD, you're going to do something different. It doesn't have to be huge, it just has to be different, because different means new firing, and new firing means new wiring. So, this brings me into a little bit of a controversial topic, but I won't go into it too much in this module. One of the reasons why I don't call myself an alcoholic and I don't call others that, this is one of the reasons, is that identity isn't fixed. Who you are is shaped by what you practice, what you tell yourself, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it's controversial, I know. You're not always an alcoholic if you change and if you rewire. That identity may have served you in the past. I know for me, when I first surrendered to what it was that was hindering me, and I first started in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, saying that out loud was helpful. It was a way of surrendering. It served me at one point. It helped me get honest and stop hiding. But I'm just going to introduce the idea that it doesn't have to define you forever. Now, you can call yourself whatever you want, but your brain, like your life, is always adapting and changing. So I just want to introduce this inkling of a thought here on this module. So remember when I said your brain loves making a pattern, like following an algorithm? It likes to understand the neurons firing together and wiring together. It's like your brain loves an algorithm. It is sort of an algorithm pattern making machine. It's not always ethical, but it's very efficient. It's not judging you, it's just repeating what it knows. So I like to think of it like an algorithm. If this, then this, if this, then this. It's not a good judge. It's not a moral compass. It's like a pattern making machine. So your brain's not going to be asking you, is this good for you? It's asking you, is this familiar? Have we done this before? Because if you've done it before, the brain assumes, oh, that's probably safe. It's not ethical. It's efficient. So if you want to get new results, you have to give your brain a new rhythm. So I'm circling back and adding this in because I can't tell you how many times people have asked me this question. Am I too old? Is it too late? A lot of people think brain change is only possible when you're young. But here's the truth. You can rewire at any age. Your brain doesn't lose the ability to change, it just becomes a little more stubborn. When you were 15, your brain was a sponge. At 45, 55, 65, it's more like a well-worn path that needs a little bit more intention to carve out a new trail. Like you're walking through beach grass and you need one of those machetes to chop down the grass, and it takes more repetition. It takes more awareness, more intention. A machete. No. But you're never too old. You're never too far gone. You're never too stuck in a pattern. So rewiring is not about perfection or speed. It's about consistency and proof that even in midlife, our brains can get radically rewired. So another thing I thought was important to add here is a lot of people throw around, it takes 21 days to build a new habit. I'm pretty sure that science was based on a plastic surgeon who came up with that model like in the 40s or 50s. So we're going to bust that myth while we're here. Not all habits take 21 days to rewire, especially not the emotional ones. Emotional habits tied to stress, shame, grief, identity, those habits are tied to your nervous system, not just your to-do list. It's so if it's taking longer, that doesn't mean it's not working. It just means it's a deeper groove. We build these mental grooves over time. And there's so much emotion and there's so many things tied to this habit. You've got to give yourself time. There's plenty of theories of how long it takes to rewire a habit in addiction. I'm going to say at least 6 months. And even then, you could be stuck in stages of post acute withdrawal. So, giving it a number, it takes this long, I don't feel like that's helpful. I think what's helpful is just understanding it's a freaking journey and we're all on it and we're willing to stay curious for the outcome. So, the good news is you're already rewiring. Every mindful choice you make is a vote for the future version of you that you're becoming. And if you've made it this far, you're deep in that rewiring process. Every time you choose presence over numbing, awareness over just going on autopilot, as we say, not reacting, every time you choose truth, compassion over shame, you're doing it, right? Your brain is listening and your identity is shifting and you're becoming someone new. So it's not just recovery, it's radically rewiring. So remember, I said you can't just burn down the bridge. You've got to build a new path, a new habit. So here's probably some of the top tier ways we're going to go about this. Number one, awareness. Awareness of the cue, because you can't change what you don't notice. Movement. We've talked about movement. Even 10 minutes of walking can calm your nervous system, increase dopamine levels, all the things. Journaling. It gets you out of that loop in your head and onto the page so you can question your thoughts, your habits. And then sleep hygiene. If you're freaking exhausted, your brain will default to old patterns. It's incredibly challenging to rewire. And blood sugar stability. This one's also huge. Spikes and crashes in your blood sugar feel like cravings and anxiety. We've talked about this. So protein, fiber, complex carbohydrates, those are your friends. You don't have to be perfect here, folks. Just intentional and consistent. And every time you do one of these, you're showing your brain this is the new normal and you're rewiring. So, what's the action step here? I'm not going to ask you to go journal your ass off, but I do think it's worth putting forth at least one action step here. So, catch the cue, interrupt the loop, choose something different on purpose. So, today, when you feel the urge to drink, or even if you feel the urge to numb out, let's say you're farther along on your sober journey, pause. Try one of your rewiring tools instead. Move your body. Write something down on your journal. Eat a protein-rich snack. Do something different. Pause, breathe for 30 seconds. The win here is in the pattern interrupt. So your journal prompt, if you're dying to journal, what old pattern is ready to be interrupted? And what could I replace it with instead? And just write for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Don't worry about getting it perfect. Just be honest with yourself. What's one loop you're tired of repeating. And what might a new, more empowering version of that look like?